So I was going to ask you, David. You used a quote from Alexander Ristovkov.
Alexander Ristovek.
Yeah,
Serbian poet.
Right. How did this quote, you think, centers your book? The quote goes, "Behind your back, if you turn, you make out the sheep trying to fly with their woolen wings."
Well, I think a lot of times the things that I write about kind of begin with things I see out of the corner of my eye, and there's very much that's actually from a poem called Outhouse.
Okay.
Where, like, it's a bucolic country scene.
Right.
Where it's kind of looking, just the corner of your eye, seeing sheep, and they're trying to fly with golden wings, and beautiful description of it's a beautiful, strange description of a sheep.
Yeah.
It's Charles Simick's favorite poem. He told me one time.
It was up there at the university.
Yeah. That's from a great anthology called "The Horse Has Six Legs." Anthology of Serbian poetry and translation that meant a lot to me when I was first starting to write.
Still does, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, obviously. So, someone's quoted, and I get the sense that your poems are never far from grief. Maybe you can expand on, yeah.
Well, I mean, I think some of the poems in this book were written around my mother dying.
Okay. Was that a long time ago?
No, 2010.
Okay.
And also, which was kind of a bittersweet time with my daughter was 3 years old. So these are kind of poems written when my daughter was born. And one of the things that was different, my first book, Ascension Days, I had, written on foot because I didn't know how to drive. I didn't learn to drive until I was 36. And I think that
like me, yeah.
With this book, it was a different world for me. Yeah. We moved to Somerville from Medford, where we'd lived a long time. And, so there's a couple of things. I don't know. I think that I have a sense of happiness and joy and sadness and pain kind of happening at the same time.
That's life, right?
Yeah, it's life. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, interesting. You moved from Medford to Somerville. I had a poet on here. I don't know if you know him, Gary Dorr.
No, I don't know him.
And he lives in Somerville, and he told me that the difference between Medford and Somerville is that if you're taking a picture in Medford, they think you're from an insurance company, but in Somerville, they think you're, an artist or a photographer.
There's a lot more trees in Somerville.
Is there really? Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
I wouldn't think that, but yeah.
More topiary in Medford.
Yeah, okay. Now, I always tell creative writing students that you don't have to be, a monk in the Himalayas, or to be with a monk in the Himalayas to write a poem. It's an exalted setting. And indeed, Somerville is the subject of many of your poems. Because you like William Collis William had Paterson, New Jersey. You have Somerville, kind of. Well, I mean, not only Somerville, but...
Well, I like to, the immediate experience of being and moving around and looking at things is really close to my impulse to write. And Somerville, you see a lot of these poems are set in Somerville just because I'm around Somerville. And I love Somerville, because there's a lot of energy and, it's hilly. It's a great place to walk. There's a lot of things I love about Somerville, so that's going on. Also, I've been around Boston about 20 years.
Yeah.
I've worked in Somerville first in the mid-'90s, and then...
What'd you do then?
I was a waiter.
Oh, where?
Where Orleans is on Holland Street.
Wow.
I was a dining room manager there, too.
Wow, yeah, it's a great restaurant.
Moved up here. Well, it was called Tallulah's then. It was,
okay.
It was fun,
Yeah.
So it was my first job in Boston.
Right.
Was in Somerville. And, seen it change, and some things I feel ambivalent about, things getting more expensive and the character of the place changing. But, of course, I also love the character of the place, and things are changing everywhere, so... Yeah. That's kind of part of the title, probably.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, things do change for the better or worse. Now, you really have a wonderful eye. That I remember reading one poem about you're in a bar and you're describing some of the characters you see on the and also the characters you see in the bar, and you see these rat town kids on the subway, and the man with a lip like a couch,
I think it was a woman with a lip like a couch.
Oh, was it a woman with a lip? And and some guy being, some woman being escorted by some big palooka to Bunker Hill, if I remember it is, where I would teach.
Yeah.
And chin-studded dancers in a bar. I know in modern times now we're always connected, with the texting and the things in the head and all this stuff. But isn't it necessary for you really just to be totally focused, or a poet, be totally focused to notice these things? I mean, do you think that's an issue?
Yeah, I think that's one of the pleasures of both writing poetry and reading poetry is concentration.
Yeah.
And details that kind of pop into your head that you remember seeing or tend to be, on some level, to me, function as metaphor. Mm-hmm. So they kind of suggest feeling, but sometimes I think that maybe the sound chooses the image too, where I'm, working on something, I might not even kind of really think about it too much while I'm just putting the stuff in like that. But that definitely, I like to look around at things, and that's one of the primal pleasures of being a person, I think.
Yeah.
The pleasures of the eye. I mean, I think most people would, it would be tough to lose your hearing, but it'd be really hard to
lose your sight.
Lose your sight. My God,
I was just reading. We were just reading Cathedral, by Raymond Carver, in the class about the blind man and how he actually gave metaphorical sight to a person who had vision. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever read that.
I haven't read that in a long time.
Yeah, it's a great one. It's a great story. You meant there's some in the acknowledgments or thanks. You said Tanya Larkin. It was still a Somerville poet.
She's still a Somerville poet. Yeah.
And Julia Story, who I've interviewed.
Yeah, Julia. Yeah.
Any other poets that you admire here in town?
Oh, Lloyd Schwartz.
Okay.
Joseph Tora.
Okay.
And I have tons of friends over in Cambridge too. David Rivard just lives right over the, right over Prospect Street. He's in Min Square,
Right.
That's Summers Bridge.
Yeah. Okay. And anything particular about their work that you can?
Oh. Well, I think all of the work that I really like has a lot of life in it.
Yeah.
It's kind of, when you read it, it gets a kind of sense of.
Why do you find a lot of
being alive?
Things dead on arrival these days? Or?
No, well, not everything has movement, and not everything is has strangeness, and when I read all of those people's work, I read Julia or Tanya or Rivard, it's like finding the new world within the old world. That feels familiar, but it's also I've never seen it.
Okay.
I've never seen it said that way.
Okay.
So
they have original ways of coming up with stuff.
Yeah. Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Also, I'm reading Riviera Beach on page 62. You really describe Riviera Beach in all its glory, and the last paragraph is maybe you can read where I saw a spent condom. It starts there and read down.
Maybe I'll go a little. I could read the whole poem if you want. I mean,
you want to do it that way? Yeah. Sure, let's go ahead.
Riviera Beach in spring. Forget that purple seaweedy end of it with the gross stuff and the carnivorous sandflies and the rattle of dried grasses, obligatory pieces of dried shit, the bad stories, the phytoplankton tell the sea worms, the messes, the city having its squalid dream that is hard to forget, Esme. But why would you? It's April, and there are grandmothers wrapped like Bedouins with flat Irish mouths and punky grandchildren in the vast sands of different life. The international flights hooking down 8-hour early afternoon loads from Heathrow, Paris, and Munich, enormous as rocks, flying over apartment buildings with wheels down and their flaps up. You get to the middle of the beach, finally can see some lighthouses, the green and gunmetal water. It's terrible to read biographies of Sylvia Plath and look at the pincer of her Winthrop and the pincer of near Nahant Peninsula from the subverted bull or crab body of Riviera Beach. The ocean tanker out toward the open water of the bay tilts to one side, a hat and guys who have been working outside or drinking indoors list to the side, and nobody is good looking at all. To the seagulls with blood models, this is one big clam house. They squawk about it. Have you been out to the clam house? Big surf clams, that whole beach tilting over, water dribbling out of them. They try to get their stomach feet back down into salt muck, practically too much clam. People with strong guts, the Japanese call them out for soup, and if they were smaller, they would be cherry stone dozens on some menus, but most people figure they are deformed by waste, tainted, tattooed gangland specimens, or bonehead mutants who break the springs inside the seats of tractor trailer seats and have the 64-ounce cups of spew. Snuff tobacco dipping inbred bumpkins of the liminal world gone to seed, just dangerous and yucky, like the time I saw a spent condom next to a faded rifle cartridge, a broken X. For the clams, Riviera Beach is hell, and Valhalla, dry places pried open, broken down into fragments, then sand, soared up to the sky in the beaks of Valkyrie gulls, while in distant clouds, shrouded airplanes reflect and glow upward, angelic flights. These things survived for a while.
Now, if you were reading this like to the mayor of Riviera or something like that, how do you think they respond to that?
I feel like this. I love Riviera. They
But
should
you do love Riviera.
Yeah, my friend. I have this great friend.
One might
Paul
think that
Farrar.
one might think that, I can see where it's possible, even though I know it's not, that you are looking down on it.
Well, the thing is is that there's ambivalence in any kind of thing that you love, right?
Right.
You're only telling
The beautiful,
truth.
ugly.
You're only telling the truth about your feelings, and
Right.
that sometimes the beach is beautiful. I love the beach. I go there, but you notice that things like that, and I don't think it's looking down on it.
Yeah.
But also the thing with that with
Well, there is, this no one's, everyone's, all these things. So I'm not saying that you are, but I'm just saying that there is there's an ugly beautiful. There's
Ugly
a beautiful,
beauty, yeah.
there's an ugly beauty.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying to make.
That's a beautiful, there's a beautiful Thelonious Monk composition.
Yeah.
Ugly beauty.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And there is beauty in the ugly.
Yeah. Oh
Right.
yeah. Well, yeah. It's all human.
Just look at me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's distinctive, but I also think that one of the reasons why when I write about anything, a lot of times it's other experiences are in there that I'm like writing about Riviera Beach, but I'm also probably writing about the Jersey Shore and Orchard Beach in New York, and
It's iconic.
the Japanese restaurant where I work, the cherry stone clams, the clam houses, all the seafood restaurants I worked in New York City, that are just kind of floating around.
Right.
And that's one of the things I like about cities,
Uh-huh.
is they are things that are kind of full of things that trigger things. There's so much a collection that you're always running into things that have a kind of a...
You're a
something you
walker in the
recognize.
city, right?
Oh, yeah. I
You
love to
read
walk,
the Kazan's Walker in the City? You just walked
Oh,
around
yeah,
New
I've read
York.
parts of that. That's really good, yeah.
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 I mean, walking is a great stimulus, don't you think?
Oh, yeah, definitely. Walking is amazing.
Uh-huh.
It's good. It gets you to the rhythm
Yeah.
of your, your breathing and your thinking, and you can kind of go into your head, and then you're also going to think of the outside world at the same time. It's a very
stream of consciousness going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful. I love to walk.
Yeah. That's great.
Take a walk every day if I can.
Yeah, if you have time.
Yeah.
Well, that's good. You got some time, about 12 minutes, 13 minutes, to read from your from book or for any selections of whatever.
Here's a poem I'd kind of like to read from. This book came out. This actually is funny because, this is the third book that was published, but it was the second.
By who?
one.
By who's published
This is published by New Issues.
Okay.
Western
they have a
Michigan.
magazine, don't they also?
Yeah, they do. New Issues, Poetry and Prose. I forget what the magazine's called, but Western Michigan University Press. But I finished this book before this one that came out last year.
Okay.
So this is really my second book.
Oh, okay.
Even though it came out third.
Oh, okay.
And then this Friends with Dogs, which came out a couple of months before, is really my
and they're available. And you have a blog, don't you? I mean, a website.
I have a website, yeah.
Which is
www.davidblairpoetry.com.
And you can get books. You can get books from that.
Well, it goes to Amazon or
Okay.
Here's a Summerville poem. Since winter's ending,
Okay.
I'll read this. This was I probably got this those big blizzards a couple of years ago. Gone out in the snow, all tired and heavy good from shoveling, with my neck one of the white collars. I'm out in the trenches of snow piled high along all the curbs, out on leave from being inside. The pizza shop guys are in their race car shirts with hoodies over them, passing a cigarillo by the lit slice sign, making me hungry, but full of music and heart, which is probably a bad idea. One guy is really huge, and the other two look like pipe cleaners. The gang has an eater. The king rat has taster rats to check old odd peanut butter. He lives in an old subway station with Gilded Age touches beneath the West End and big spider webs on steam heat. I can't help walking with my teacher eyes open. The crust got injected with tortured, scalded mozzarella made in Wisconsin. I want to see the green things again, dark with fallen rain, a June night, hear the night birds. Gymnast ballet angels around the weeds come up on posts. Look, William Blake prints. Think of the flash mob of his naked soccer hooligans near St. Patrick's Day from Portugal and Lowell, raising whippet arms straight up in a frenzy of pride and chaste violence in a different nation than flies its flag of pizza delivery and the clamped-on delivery light pyramids. The chimney sweeps keep at arm's length or something. If you are not throwing dukes, you keep distant. Down here under the air pressure and broken script of visible constellations, a horn star of Taurus, a pincer star, Piscean bones cast across forever by Orion's earlobe, by fire blazing out in odd groupings. We got some gloves.
Yeah, it's almost like, it's all encompassing, a Ginsbergian or Whitman type thing going on there. You just bring it all in, huh?
Yeah, I like, well, there's definitely a lot of Blake, like in there, like the, the Blake chimney sweeps, I kind of allude to that print. And, I like that because years ago I read a story in the old Boston Phoenix about the rat catcher for the city of Boston.
Yeah.
And he brought the reporter into the old Scully Square tea stop, not the government center one, but like the original one that's actually next to it. That's like this old, and and it was like kind of like an Indiana Jones thing. It was like swarming with like this massive colony of rats
and
everywhere.
Poems
right?
Read, you just have your poems are full of quote unquote things, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and from there things radiate out.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the William Carlos Williams, No Meaning But in Things, and Ezra Pound, the retrospect, where you the objects, the natural occurring things are the best. Pound calls them symbols, but those are the things that carry feeling and create feeling to me.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's just not concepts that you're dealing with.
I'm not a very conceptual person, really.
Right.
So, I'm skeptical of that. I like the Pound. Go in fear of abstractions. Jaffoa.
Yeah. Right.
He should have done a little more Jaffoa.
Yeah.
Right.
Go on and read some more.
Here's another. We do a lot of poetry reading type. Here's a kind of a poem about a poetry reading. Allies in Boston. How about anything good is an ally of love? I think I can live with music, stay afloat. While Jessica reads her poems, her neck pulses with short syllables, and the sky in the big windows blues. Does Jessica do special neck workouts? And if I listen to Christina's true voice, she sounds even more soulful when I look at everybody's scuffed and relaxed shoes. And then Jill answers the energy in people with her own energy, speaking of such awful things with interpretive heat. And afterwards, it feels so bearably sad. Everybody is so good. Nobody goes out. I stop the car, park it, walk over to the river by the footbridge, the Charles lined with irregular daffodil beds. I would like to lie down in the sudden paradise after the shitty winter, the nice parts of which, the snow and the cold, were an illusion of old times, undeserved to boot. Lamentably, I declined some pot from Generation Y on behalf of Generation X. The pointed crew boats point in odd directions after the strenuous practice floating with painted hulls. You can see as the rowing stops, the drifting starts. This time, twilight starts very low at the bottom of the river and then floats up to the top. As I walk away from the twilit river, the green grass still looks golden and more unreasonably green, and the sky above me hasn't heard the dinner bell, still the color in toothpaste or a pile of folded T-shirts. The buildings at the far western corner of the city drowse like bees in the haloing pollen light. There's nothing to do with any of this but exchange text messages with my friend who isn't there and stand in the middle of the sidewalk. What else is there in heaven and earth? Nothing but longing and information.
So, you're describing Summerville and
Over Harvard
different
Square,
things
yeah.
over Harvard Square. So you were talking to me, I think before the show, about David Rivard and how he makes familiar things with original language.
Make it strange, as he says,
yeah. And so it seems that influence is evident.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the way I think Heaney calls it, like making strange.
Making strange.
And I think a lot of poetry.
Why is it necessary to make strange? What do you think?
Oh, I think in order to be evocative,
right,
to make it to actually be realistic, you have to be strange.
Yeah.
In order to have something have the shock of familiarity, there's to really see something it has to be somewhat defamiliarized. It's the same reason that most people don't really look at things, because they're not really experiencing that oddness.
The oddness, yeah. Even in fiction, I think Alfred Hitchcock said, fiction is real life with the dull parts cut out, right?
Yeah.
So it's sort of
you're
getting to the meat of things.
Or fiction is just a place where people are much more badly behaved than they are. Most people are kind of behaving.
Well, you want the
themselves,
oddness,
right?
obviously, in a Hitchcock film.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Well, movies too. Are
Cinema.
Beautiful. They're beautiful visual.
Yeah. How about some more? Go ahead.
Let's see what else we got here. Well,
we got about, according to our clock, about another 2 minutes or so.
Another Summerville poem here. Oh. I like David Ferry.
Yep, translator.
I think this is probably one of the first poems I ever wrote about Somerville. This is older poem than any of the other ones in the book. Roman poem. Today, grass came up feathery in the disused train tracks, and the doors were open at the John Henry Room near the end of the bus line, close to the shipping industry, with gulls and girder bridges into passing zephyrs, so that So there should be classical ways to follow through on the better suggestions of springtime after all, with tabors and whatnot, or like the painter by the river with his tray and portable stand in the poem, or David Ferry himself reading his translations of Virgil at the public library, rainy in dogwoods, concentration. Today was like a breast, baby carriages at bus stops, and mothers young with friends young and childless, or maybe not married, but girlish, still filling in their boredom with tank tops and eyeshadow, getting close to the center of things and making things up in a slowed down time really is an improbable task, like finding a peaceful hillside in the middle of a city. The man who fills burritos at Taco Loco had bats and tombstones in his eyes. He must hate his job when he hates his customers who have too much or too little sense, untranslatable to the microphone, and muffled rage in the kitchen. So the day was not like a breast. It was actually a bitterness, long, hardy weeds up the chain links. And
Thank you very much,
yeah,
David.
That was an older poem. That was from, written in the late 90s, actually.